that Noah and the family survived from a universal flood. And the flood destroyed, covered, and destroyed everything on the world. So when they came out from the ark, they can only see the dry land. They can see the empty space. They can see the vast territory, but there was nothing left over there. And at this moment, it was God who called Noah that you and your family come out of the ark. You and your wife and your son and their wives. And on that very day, Noah and his son Shem, Ham, Japheth, together with his wife and the wives of his 3 sons, enter the ark. You remember in chapter 7, the day that they was enter into the ark, 8 of them, together with all of the living animals. And now, when they went out of the ark, also 8 of them together with the living animals. Now, they have been in the boat or in the ark for 370 or 371 days. It was a long time. It was more than a year that Noah and his family lived in the boat. And I'm sure it is not comfortable, and yet it is safe. It's maybe not convenient, but they was protected from the flood. And when they entered the ark on the 2nd month of the 7th day, and we know that the rain fell for 40 days and 40 nights. And then after that, the waters prevailed 150 days total. And then they have to wait for a long time for the water to be subsided and until the ground was dry. So it's altogether 370 days or 370 days that they was in the ark. Now, when they entered the ark, the world was full with celebration and achievement. And in those days, and you can also see from archaeologies, that they built even the cities. And the world has become so wicked with so many celebrations, many evils. And now, when they got out of the boat, they could only see the dry and empty land. And especially Noah at that time was 601 years old. When he was in the ark, he was 600 years old. And now after he get out of the ark, he is 1 year older. And as you know that when we get older and when we have to start from zero, we have to start anything from the beginning, I'm sure that many of us would not want to do so. We would be very discouraged in order to start with something from zero. When I first came to the United States, and in the same way, I have to start all over again. Even though we have some co-workers, even though we have family members, even though we have something to start up with, but in a new place, it would be very tough, very difficult. In a new place with a new culture, language barrier, and weird relationship that we do not even understand much of the culture here. It would be very difficult to start. How much more for Noah and his family? When they look at the earth, it was empty. There was nothing there except some of the living animals that they brought with them into the boat. We might, just like Lazarus, who was buried in the tomb. And it is exactly the same way that maybe Noah and his family are thinking, how are we going to start? Where do we start from here? Where are we going to live? And at that time, they don't have a lot of tree in order for them to build a house yet. Maybe they have to live in a cave. And how can they imagine that one day from their generation, from these 8 people, they are going to populate the world once again? They used to live in the city with a lot of celebration, and now they have to live in the countryside, in a suburb area, in an empty places. Everything was different. The environment was different. And they have to labor all over once again. So we might be buried in the tomb just like Lazarus, with fear and frustration, anger and anxiety, sickness and sadness, conflicts and confusion, broke and despair, bondage and sin. And I don't know about you, for this 2026, what are the things that you are facing? You may face with a lot of fears and frustration, or even sickness is also something that you have been compact with for a long time. You have been struggling with for a long time. And yet, regardless of our situation, it's just like the situation of Lazarus, who was already dead in the tomb. And when Jesus came and just said, Lazarus, just get up, just go out. And at that time, Lazarus just rise up from the dead. And it's just like Noah and his family just walk out from their comfort zone in the ark or in the boat. And now they have to be open to a new environment. Everything was new. But it is time for all of you and I once again that we are going to get out of our spiritual decline. Our prayer life has become dry. Our Bible reading has become occasional. Our worship become mechanical. Our conviction of sin become very weakened. And our sensitivity to God have been decreased. And we need to get out of those spiritual decline. We need to get out of our moral decline, our mental breakdowns, our emotional losses, our chronic discouragement. How many of us have the chronic discouragement? Yeah, when you talk to the people, you may see that they have those things. The pain have been in their life for so long. It's time for you and I to get out of that chronic discouragement, our loss of motivation, get out of our mental fog, get out of our negative thought loops, get out of our emotional numbness or the learned hopelessness so that we can become victorious. It's time for you and I to get out of our broken relationship. Do not just stay there anymore. Taking our loved one, do not take our loved one for granted. Do not just continue to keep unresolved conflicts. Do not let the communication breakdown continue to destroy our communication and relationship. Do not let isolation continue to kill us or torture us. Do not let bitterness to continue to grow violently in our life. How many of you know that bitterness can grow violently? We thought it's grow silently, and yet it grows violently in our life. And that's why we want to have the plan to revenge. Do not let the loss of empathy continue to remain in our life. It's time also for you and I to get out of our bad habit. Maybe irregular sleep schedule, the poor time stewardship, endless scrolling, inconsistent routine, comfort addiction, starting strong and yet finishing weak. Let us pray that you and I can get out of those situations, from the pain, from the anguish, from the broken relationship, from the failure of our life, from the poverty, and from the poor mentality, in order for us to rebuild and to revive, just like the word sing in Chinese.